sitting in a hot tub, you're going to have like a temperature gradient when thermocouples can work again. So
okay.
That's another possible place to get power. Another place that starts getting into mechanical action is you can have some kind of elastic or like elastic power generator tied into your rib cage.
Okay.
So as you breathe, you're getting some juice off of that.
Oh, that's pretty.
Even the USB cable and stuff.
That is very pretty. How much are you going to get out of the breathing action, though?
Well, depending on where you tie into it. Are you tying into the diaphragm, or are you tying into the expansion of the rib cage?
Right.
Then it's sort of a question of how much power do you really need, right?
Yeah, I suppose it depends on what your application you're trying to power, so...
There's a couple of other places where you could tie in mechanically and get juice. And then there's some questions of like do you want to, are these singular applications, or are they distributed? And then if they're distributed, like do you actually want to lay a network through the body, or do you want to try and do it just through, like everybody has their local power and they communicate through some kind of wireless network?
Right. Well, people have been doing body area sort of network things for communication for a while.
Yeah, but most of the work that they've done is based on static electric surface effects.
Yeah.
I don't think they're really been playing with solid area, with like solid.
That's true. It's not. It's mostly skin, and it's mostly devices worn outside your skin. So. You could just send packets off into the bloodstream and see what happens.
I mean, personally, I'm very, very interested in this field.
Yeah.
That's why I'm sort of brain dumping here.
Yeah.
One thing that I have to say is I'm very unimpressed with the degree of user experience knowledge.
Okay.
And just straight up tool theory that we see coming out of the cognitive researchers that are working directly on implants.
Okay.
So there's a group that does BrainGate. They came and did a type talk for us, and I drilled them afterwards. Which is, BrainGate is a technology for like you put some electrode grid like right here, and you're trying to capture the part of the brain that controls the hand, right?
Sure.
Now, this is what happens when you get neuroscientists working on this kind of stuff. They're interested in how the hand works.
Sure.
So they're interested in how the hand works. They get approval to perform surgery on people who either have no hands or are paralyzed.
Right.
Okay? And then what they work on is cognitive models of hands.
Sure.
And they're trying to teach the person to imagine they're moving a hand through space and that sort of stuff. But what they've effectively done is they've tied onto a portion of the muscle control homunculus.
Okay.
And then they're forcing it back onto this hands metaphor, and they don't have an exact match up to the homunculus in the first place. Right? So just in terms of signal theory, there are a lot better things that they could do with the number of degrees of freedom that they have available to them. Because they go through all of this work to try and simulate a hand.
Right, whereas you could just directly do what you're trying to do, or what these people are trying to do.
Well, not so much directly. I mean, you have to provide them some degrees of freedom of some kind of notional thing that they're manipulating, because that's what the muscle control homunculus is set up to do.
Right.
But they're building a hand simulation, and then they're having the hand simulation point at things. And that's the user experience for the user. It's terrible. You could enable so much more out of them if you just give up the notion of the hand.
Yeah.
And for these people who are already paralyzed, there's no particular reason to force them into that model. Especially there was some recent research that came out about tool progression, and it really looks strongly like any time you use a tool, even for just a few minutes, your self-model adapts to include the tool as a portion of your body.
Yeah.
So the brain's extremely plastic in terms of what those degrees of freedom map to.
Right.
And what I'd really like to see is someone